Hello, and welcome to In the Roud. Greetings and salutations, dear listeners. This is In the Roud, a folk song podcast, and I am your host, Matt Quinn. Join me as we travel through the world of traditional folk song, one song per episode, in the order they appear in the Roud Index. Each episode will feature two guests, one providing an historical look at the song, while the other will be a singer from the folk music scene to talk about their own version of the song. This podcast is proud to be partly sponsored by the Traditional Song Forum. Meeting regularly both in person and online, the TSF provides a place for a variety of topics related to folk song, song collectors, singers, and many other aspects of folk song research to be discussed and presented. It is free to join, and most meetings are free to attend. So discover more about the TSF at tradsong.org. That's tradsong.org. So let's get going. This week's song is Roud 48, which is Child Ballad number 75, Lord Lovell. Loads to discuss with this one. Later on, we'll hear from our singer guest, Moira Craig, but for now, let's have a look at the history of the song with one of our regular contributors, Steve Gardham. Well, hello and welcome back to In the Roud. Steve Gardham, hello.
Good to be here again. Cheers, Matt.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, I got a cold, but yeah, I'm not poorly with it, so that's fine.
There you go. Yeah, me too. I've got a cold, and it's I've got 2 gigs this week. We're recording this quite a few weeks in advance. I've got a couple of gigs this week. I've been wrapped up warm and trying to get rid of this cold before I've got to do two lots of 2:45 minutes of singing. So that's not good, but I'll be fine, I'm sure. Nice to have you back, as always. And this is a biggie today. Certainly, judging by the number of entries in the Roud Index, this is a pretty big song, pretty widely known. Lord Lovell, Roud 48, Child Ballad number 75. Start us off, as always. What are we dealing with? What's the song about? And what's the plot of the song?
Okay, let's start with the plot then, because there's a heck of a lot to say about it. It has a weird and wonderful history. The plot won't take us very long. It's very, very simple. That's sort of one of the main characteristics of it. It is so simple. Lord Lovell is going off. He's got this lover, Lady Nancy Bell, in the later versions anyway, and he goes off. He's going off to Scotland, I think. Yes, because he's in London. He's going off to Scotland, and he says he might be away for three years. He's not sure, and she laments him going away, and then off he goes straight away on his milk-white steed all the way to Scotland, and he's not there that long. In fact, it suddenly jumps to him. He wants to come back again. We don't know what's happened in between. We're not told anything about that. And then he comes back to London, and Lady Nancy Bell has died, presumably of sorrow. And he opens the coffin and kisses her, play colts, as in many ballads. And then you get what we call the Rose and Briar ending, which I'll go into more detail later, which is the burial of the 2 people, one in the choir, one in the chancel, and roses grow out of their bosoms and entwine, all that sort of thing. That's found in at least half a dozen other ballads and all over the continent. But I'll come back to that in more detail later. And that's basically it.
Right. Simple story, but with a lot to delve into. I've already hinted that, or rather even said out loud, that this is an extremely widespread song, it seems, going by the numbers in the Roud Index itself. I know we always talk about the fact that there are the Roud index contains duplicates and triplicates sometimes of versions because they turn up. The same version will turn up in three or four different sources sometimes, but nevertheless, it is a relatively sort of rough guide for a song's popularity. Um, the folk song index yields 536 results, and the broadside index only 85, but a combination of 621. So that seems like a pretty widespread song.
Yeah, and you can really, I think, put down its popularity to its performance on stage, which was over a very long period, and its reproduction in print, in on broadsides, but in songsters and all sorts of different media. So you can really put its popularity, partly at least, down to that. And its simplicity as well, I think, probably added a great deal to that. And the tune, of course, very memorable, simple tune, um, easily remembered. And as we were looking at earlier in the Bronson tunes, the first 50 or so are all practically almost exactly the same tune. So, it's one of these like something like The Dark-Eyed Sailor, again, which was very popular, probably originally a stage song, and everybody knew the tune, and so when it's been collected to the same tune practically everywhere because it was so popular.
Yes, that's right. All you need sometimes is one version to sort of hit big,
That's
and
right,
it
yeah.
spreads like wildfire.
And that's what happened, yeah.
And that happens on the revival scene as well. You just need, I mean, it's happened, I think, on a song we've covered probably, but it's all you need. It happened like it happened on earlier this season with Sir Patrick Spence. Not that common a song, commonly found, until Nick Jones recorded it, and suddenly it
Yeah.
spread around like wildfire. So,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
then on the traditional side of things, as it were, sort of on the historical side of things, this was a performance piece, and therefore it spread around quite a lot. So, um, yeah, how far back can we trace this then? Because there's a lot of books will tell you sort of the 1770s ish, but I believe you're going to burst forth with some more information, some new information on this.
Oh, well, I don't know how new the information is. It shouldn't be because the earliest version and the earliest version we have in Child is the one sent to Professor Child by a person who lived near London, and that's his A version, Child's A version, probably because it's the earliest version.
Oh, and that's the Reverend Thomas Percy, isn't it?
Yeah,
1765.
Thomas Percy's, in Thomas Percy's relics. So, well, he didn't actually put it into his relics. I don't think it was. He just sort of kept the versions in his manuscripts. But there was an even earlier one in the Thomas Percy manuscripts that I'm surprised that Child didn't get hold of, or apparently didn't get hold of. It's earlier. Um,
Okay.
and we go back into history here because we go to most people will have heard of our earliest Prime Minister, Sir Walpole, and his youngest son was, now then, which Walpole was he? Horace Walpole, that's it. Let's get the right one, the right Walpole. Horace Walpole was his youngest son, and he was. I mean, obviously, we're talking about London here. This is a London-centric thing, and when Percy first published, in fact, it was before it had come out. It was a publisher's copy. He had publisher's copies of the Percy's Reliques when they were first made, sent to sort of all the literati, if you like, in London and various other places, because he was pretty much an unknown before that. He had written other things, but nothing had hit anything like as much as the Percy's Reliques did. That became famous all over Europe, and it was republished and republished and republished for many, many years, and still is being republished, despite it all being practically made up by Percy himself. But anyway, that apart, he'd sent these copies out, and one had been sent to Robert Walpole, who was part of the London literati, very high up, obviously, uh, aristocracy and all that sort of thing. And he was quite taken with the book, with Percy's relics, and he wrote a letter directly to Percy. And in it, I've got a copy of the letter here. He sent, in fact, it'd probably be best if I read it out what he had to say, if I can find it. Where is it here? Um, yeah. The letter is very complimentary. The first part of the letter is complimentary and saying how well the Percy's relics were. And then the last two paragraphs, which are worth reading out. I will not make this first letter too long. This is 1765, by the way. I will not make this first letter too long. With it I enclose an old ballad, which I write down from memory, and perhaps very incorrectly, for it is above 25 years since I learned it. So
Ah,
that's taking us back to 1740. I do not send it to you, sir, as worthy to be published, but merely as an addition to your collection, if it is not there already. I remember to have heard another, and this is interesting as well, and I'll come back to this later, to have heard another which was the exact counterpart to it called Giles Collin, which of course became another child ballad.
it did. Yes, right.
But
Yeah.
but I do not recollect a single stanza. And then the last paragraph is just more sort of complimenting him. So we've got that version. And we have the version that we've just mentioned from 1770. So we've a version from 1740, a version from 1770. If you put them side by side, there are very few differences. But the one thing that both of these versions lack when it comes to the later versions, and I'm wondering if there was an earlier version that did have this. There's a first verse, Lord Lovell who stood by his own stable door, combing his milk white steed. That verse is not in either version.
Oh, okay.
Right, but there are some significant differences. Now then, in the Walpole version, he's either, well, he's written it out himself and he's spelt it Lady Hounsibel. Now, this is making me suspicious straight away. The name Hounsibel doesn't exist. As far as I can work out. I've never found it anywhere else.
Right.
Lady
Okay.
Hounsibel, right? Hounsibelle,
Oh,
right?
that's
So,
right, because it's called The Ballads of Lady Hounsibel and Lord Lovell.
yeah, that's right. That's exactly what it's called, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And in Child, which I have here, it's Lady Ouncebell. Oh,
Oh,
and it
that's
without the
right.
A, Ouncebell without the E on the
The
end.
word ounce and the word bell, but put together.
Yeah. Again, neither of those are sort of accepted, well-known names. Now, names in ballads tend to be Margaret, William, Thomas,
Yeah.
all very well-known names. We don't know Lord Lovell's first
No.
name.
But I just want to
So
say that, to say for listeners that yeah, the ounce bell, which is version A in Child, that's the Percy
the,
papers.
that's 1770 Percy one,
Yeah,
isn't it?
communicated by the Reverend P. Parsons of Y from singing.
Yeah,
That's what it says here.
yeah. That's right, right. Now, also in there, which is different from the later versions, we have the Lady Ansabel turns out to be the king's when he comes back and finds that she's dead. Uh, he asked of a gentleman, I think it's a lady in the later versions, that stood there all alone, what made the bells of the high chapel ring and the ladies to make such a moan? The king's fair daughter is dead, he said, whose name's Lady Hounsebell. So you've got the princess. She's a princess in this.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so you've got all these this fast-moving ballad that jumps about. Now we know that one of the characteristics of ballads, this leaping and lingering, is one of the most important characteristics of all of these ballads, and this does occur in most ballads that they jump about quite a bit, but this one really goes to really silly extremes in that it's a very short story. You're left what happened in between here, what happened in between there. And normally ballads do give you some sort of clue as to what's going on. Um, right now, we need to come back from there, I think, to what Professor Child thought of it, what other people thought of it, what Bronson thought of it. And Child actually states that, he thought it's silly sooth. The ballad is silly sooth in all its versions.
Right.
Bronson repeats that, and then Bronson states, this too insipid ballad, which again is true. In my mind, and I published this in an article which I'll come back to in a moment, it is pure burlesque right from the very beginning. Now, Child says, what is it a burlesque of? And he proposes that it's a burlesque of Child 74, Fair Margaret and Sweet William,
Right.
because they roughly tell the same story. But we know that, I mean, Child had made mistakes himself in that he'd put two ballads together that tell the same story, and then two ballads separate that ought to be together. So he didn't have, to be fair, he didn't have access to anything like the amount of material that we, as far as versions are concerned, anyway, of what we have access to today. And so that's Child's attitude to it, which fits in very well with the way what I believe about it, and Bronson what he said about it as well. What I don't believe, my own theory, is that it isn't a parody or a burlesque of Fair Margaret and Sweet William. What may have swayed Child towards that when he was, because it's quite early on in the Child ballads, it's 74 and 75. It's only in the second volume, both of them. And he maybe hadn't seen that many examples of the Rose and Briar motif on the end. And because Fair Margaret and Sweet William is the earliest and probably the original English, shall we say, version that uses that motif.
Right. Because I think a lot of people are more familiar with that in Barbara Allen.
Barbara Allen, yeah, that's one of the others, but early versions of the art of Barbara Allen don't have that at all.
Oh, okay. Well, that's for listeners. That's next season, and Vic Gammon will enlighten us all on that
I'm
one.
sure you will. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The Rosenbriar theme crops up in at least half a dozen ballads, and must have come, one would think, well, probably, let's say, it probably came from Fair Margaret and Sweet William because that was printed, I think, as a 17th century ballad. So that would have been. But of that, saying that, it's a Europe, Northern European wide thing. It's not just a British motif or set of commonplaces. It's something that was doing the rounds well before any ballads were written in Britain, in Northern Europe. German ballads have the same motif, but with different plants. Sometimes it's a tree and the branches of the tree entwine at the end, all in the same way, growing out of the bodies of the two lovers. But we need to move to Scandinavia. Once it had reached Scandinavia in about the 16th century, there we have a ballad that he actually uses roses growing out of the two graves and entwining. So that's probably where it came from, like many of our ballads are Scandinavian translations or translations from the continent, and that's probably where the motif came from. And I think that's might have swayed Child into thinking that, the two ballads were related in some way. But my own theory on that one is that no, I think Lord is a standalone. It is a burlesque, but it's not a burlesque on a specific ballad, although it's possible that there was a ballad and the more likely thing, as far as I'm concerned, is it is a burlesque on the ballad genre generally,
Right.
because it
Okay.
is so silly. So it does, but it does have those ballad characteristics, which is why several ballad characteristics. Some of the phraseology, the rhythm, it's certainly ballad rhythm. Phraseology is there. Some of the commonplace lines like "Comb in his milk-white steed" and that type of thing, they're all in there. So yeah, so that's what we've got with it, really. It's a burlesque, I think, of the genre in general. I doubt if it's very much older than sort of the early 18th century, which is when Robert Walpole got hold of it and learnt it. But Robert Walpole at that time, in 1740, I think he was still doing a tour of Europe. But he said roughly 25 years ago. So I maybe when he did come back in 1741, I think, to London. So he might have learnt it then.
Right.
So that's the ballad as the earliest versions, and then we know that we don't know much about it actually in the late 18th century, uh, whether it was published or whether it was sung. It was probably sung in some of the sellers in London, song sellers in London, supper rooms, that sort of thing. It's typical of that sort of thing, but we don't actually meet the general Lord Lovell song that we know, the Lord Lovell ballad that we know completely, although those two early versions are very, very close. We don't meet them until the 1830s.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
and then we find versions being printed in America, in songsters and all sorts of things, and in in London. And by then, the thing has been burlesqued even further because we get these really silly repeats of. Let's have a quick look at if I can find a version. Yes, I've got lots of broadside versions here. Yeah, Lord, let's pick out a verse that shows it. Uh, yeah, now who is dead, Lord Lovell, he said. Now who is dead, said he. A lady is dead, the people all said, and they call her the Lady Nancy. See, they call her the Lady Nancy. You know, you can't get much sillier than that. It's typical of Gilbert and Sullivan sort of comedy songs, that type of the style, anyway. And I mean, what the some of the later versions, Lady Nancy was laid in St Pancrage's church. Lord Lovell was laid in the choir, and out of her bosom there grew a red rose, and out of her lovers a briar, and uh, out of her grew a briar. They grew and they grew to the church steeple top, and they couldn't grow up any higher. So they twined themselves in a true love. You can almost use a Spike Milligan voice. In
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
true love, not for true lovers to admire, to all true lovers. You know, you get the idea anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
It was mercilessly uh, put forward by all sorts of people in America and in Britain. I strongly suspect because it became popular in Britain, and I think around about 1844, and that's when round about when Sam Cowell came back from America. He'd spent all his young life travelling around with his parents in America, performing, and he may have even picked it up there in America.
Right.
Uh,
Because I'm
uh,
noticing on the Roud Index, the number of entries for the USA eclipses everywhere else by quite a good mile.
Yeah, that's quite common though. That with a lot of songs and ballads because it's a bigger place and there's a lot more people.
Oh, I know, but yeah, like England, there's 75 entries, Scotland 56, Ireland 33, but USA 258.
Yeah, that's about right for what you would expect,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
especially a stage ballad like this one. I mean,
very
it
much
was
so.
so popular in the 1830s, 1840s, 1850s, all through that period. And once Sam Cowell got hold of it, and as I say, it might have been him who brought it over. From America, or brought it back, shall we say, from America. And he added his extra funny verse in about the eighth stanza, where he threw himself down by the side of the corpse with a terrible grunt and a guggle, gave two hops, three kicks, heaved a sigh, blew his nose, kicked the bucket, and died in the struggle. Uggle, uggle.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
So,
sure.
you know, but that, that's quite in keeping with the rest of the standards, really. Not as extreme, perhaps, but it fits in well. And then all of every single version printed on the broadside that I've got here from about 1850 onwards, although they were printed on sheet music. I've got sheet music versions here as well, my own sheet music. I've got Sam Cowell's original sheet music. I've got another one printed in 1857. There was J.W. Sharp, another famous comic, also was famous for singing it.
Oh, there we
Uh,
go. Yeah, in the Roud Index, 120 comic songs sung by Sam Cowell, circa 1878.
Well, what I've got here now, Lord Lovell. This is a bit of an aside, really. Lord Lovell also features in another song that you might know of. That one of the most recent singers to sing it was John Bowden, which was the Mistletoe Bough. The name of the Lord in the Mistletoe is Lord Lovell.
Indeed, that's a song that I sing. I sing that as I'm one of the soloists at the Dungworth Choir, the Dungworth Carols in Sheffield, and that's my song, the Mistletoe Bough on Wednesdays. Will Noble on Sundays, me on Wednesdays for the Mistletoe Bough, and it's Lord Lovell. You're quite right.
Yeah, and that's not a coincidence. Uh, the Lord Lovell story, of course, is an ancient story. It goes back onto the continent, about this lady who's in a hall and she gets locked in. They're all playing hide and seek, and she goes hide in one of these stupid big locked chests and dies there. And nobody knows, and they don't find her till years and years later. That's a well-known story from the continent, and then it was taken up as happened in various places in Britain, and then it was made into the song, the Mistletoe Bough. Now, what I've got here is a theatre programme from 1850 in Hull, local Hull one, and the title is a pantomime, typical pantomime, and it's called Harlequin Lord Lovell and Nancy Bell and the Fairy of the Silver Oak. And both songs feature in that, and it's based around the story of uh, the mistletoe bough, and then there's a whole sort of description of what goes on and who plays what parts and who sings which song, and both songs feature in the pantomime as well. So whether whoever wrote Lord Lovell wrote the mistletoe bough, I didn't know the author. Was it Charles Glover or someone like that? So one of those early 19th century songwriters wrote the mistletoe bough. Whether he um, deliberately chose Lord Lovell and whether there was a pantomime on the go around about that time that did link the two together, I don't know. This one's dated 1850 and it happened locally in Hull. All right. Oh, and there's another one as well. Is that later one? No, an earlier one. In a play called The Iron Chest, and again, it's a similar story. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And that was in York in 1849. So it'd been used quite regularly, like a lot of the pantomimes. Some of them went on for donkey's years being used, like the
Indeed.
um, Henry Mayhew's The Wandering Minstrel. That went on for donkey's years with Villikins and Dinah in it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, while I'm mentioning the burlesques in general, like Villikins and Dinah, plug. In one of the books, unfortunately extremely expensive, uh, in the Routledge Companion to English Folk Performance, edited by Peter Harrop and Steve Roud, is my chapter on all of the burlesque ballads. Very
Okay.
first in that chapter, the very first ballad. So if anyone wants to read any more detail on the burlesque of both this ballad, Lord Lovell, and the others as well, then that's one place to go. But copies were £200 apparently,
Oh
so
wow. Okay.
it's a big whack. But if anybody wants to read that particular chapter and just use it for their own purposes, I'll have an unedited copy somewhere that I can send. So if they contact me, I'll send them a copy. Uh,
Very good.
and another, whilst I'm mentioning books, another really detailed description of the history. It hasn't got everything. It hasn't got what I've been saying about the Percy's versions, but it's got a lot more detail on all the different theatre productions and that sort of thing that included Lord Lovell, and that's Kasdan's Folk Songs of the Catskills, which is also highly recommended for the histories of many, many ballads and songs. He really does go into a lot of detail, and so that's one to really look out for.
Very good.
Um, right, now then, taking the earlier on, I read that letter out from Robert Walpole to Thomas Percy, and in it, I'll just quickly get that again if I can. Yeah. When he said that, he sent him the words of the ballad of Lord Lovell from 1740. He said, "I remember to have heard another, which was the exact counterpart of it to it." And this is he's saying this in 1765, which is quite astute, called Giles Collin, but I do not recollect a single stanza. Now, Giles Collins, we know now, it's a child ballad, uh, closely related to Lady Alice, another child ballad. He could have put them both together if he'd known
Is
about.
that the one that a lot of people call George Collins as well? Is
Yeah,
that the
George
same one?
Collins, that's the one. Yeah, Giles.
That's Roud number 147,
Yeah.
and consequently, there seems to be some debate about whether it's child 42 or 85.
That's right. Yeah, I think it should be the same ballad. Yeah.
I know. Well, that'll be in the middle of season 15. And oh, look, your name's next to that one. If we get there in the spring of 2029,
Oh well, I won't say
we,
any more on that then. And
you know,
it's just the two things. It's just the problem is when all the versions of the two ballads there the single ballad that Child had no links, had barely no links, so he thought they were two separate ballads. But later versions came out after Child had died, and it showed that it was the same ballad. So Lady Alice and Giles or George Collins are really the same ballad. But
right?
I
Yeah,
Robert Walpole was correct. They are both burlesques. I think it is also a burlesque. It's so close in style and wording to Lord Lovell. I think he's hit the nail on the head. It is a counterpart of Lord Lovell, and it is another burlesque because it has the same or very similar characteristics about the man dying, and he goes and sees. He's telling his mother he's dying, and it has all the same sort of fast-moving characteristics, and is a bit too like that to be anything else to me anyway, but a burlesque. So
right.
the ballads counterbalance each other. They're very similar, and I think they're both burlesques in the same style, burlesques of perhaps of. In the case of Giles Collins, Clark Colvin has a similar story. It might be that Giles Collins is a burlesque of Clark Colvin.
Right.
That
Yeah,
something else to look at, perhaps.
indeed.
Um, then the other thing that we can look at is once the theatrical burlesques were well established by the likes of J.W. Sharp, others as well, and before them, in fact, others before them, and Sam Cowell. They were great big hits, obviously. I mean, Sam Cowell was in right at the beginning of the music hall era in this country, at Evans's and places like that. And it was massive, absolutely massive in about 1850. And so that's how these songs became so popular and were endlessly printed on broadsides. But not only that, the burlesques were then burlesqued themselves and taken even further. And you've given me an example of an American one already,
Oh yes.
American Civil War one about Charles somebody's a hotel or something. Uh,
Yes. That's a version that turns up quite late in, as in late as in numerically in Bronson in the tunes of the child ballads. There
yeah,
is a version that mentioned instead of standing at his castle gate, he's or castle wall, he's standing at Oh, there we go. Version 68 in Bronson, sung by C.A. Sneary of Canton, Ohio in about 1939. Lord Lovell sat at St. Charles Hotel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. And it well, it isn't Lord Lovell in the original. I think in the one written in the 1860s, it's somebody else was at St Charles Hotel.
Yeah, but then also that version, sorry, just reading, scanning through, that does things about I'll return to my Lady Nancy, I'll return to Lady Nancy. And then it's
Yeah,
got, he rode and he rode on his milk white steed till he came to London town, and there he heard St. Pancras bell and the people mourning round, round, round.
yeah.
So that's got, London
Sam Cowell,
landmarks as well.
yeah, and Sam Cowell changed that to St Pancrage's Bell, sort of like sort of Cockney sort of type language.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so Lord Lovell was parodied, if you like, or burlesqued even further by one called Joe Muggins.
That's the one
Again,
I was going to mention, Joe Muggins. I remember hearing Will Duke singing that in Sussex quite a lot. That was
yeah, yeah,
one of his big numbers.
yeah, yeah. Joe Muggins, his donkey or combing his donkey down or something. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
uh,
and out of one instead of like a briar and a rose, there was one
yeah.
like an oak tree or something, and
It was
or
a leek and a carrot or
oh,
something. Yeah,
that's right, that's what it was. A leak, a leak, a leak, etc.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
Highly
but
amusing.
coming back to Giles Collins was also parodied or burlesqued in exactly the same way by, again, I think it was Sam Cowell again, and that became Giles Scroggins and Giles
Right.
Scroggins Ghost. So again, that was parodied even further, and I'm sure there were more as well. But any as popular as that, and once you got, I mean, Sam Cowell sang different versions of his own sort of parodies himself. He didn't, it wasn't a stable text. He altered things here and there. That verse about the struggle uggle uggle, there's quite a different version of that came from Sam Cowell as well.
Right. And then on my trails through the books I've got that I found in this song, I found the American Civil War one as well. The Abe Lincoln instead of Lord Lovell.
Lincoln. I knew it was a politician from that period. Yeah,
Abe
yeah.
Lincoln stood at his White House gate combing his milk white steed when along came Lady Lizzie Todd, wishing her lover good speed, speed, speed. And then, where are you going, Abe Lincoln? She said, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm going, my dearest Lizzie Todd, a Richmond for to see. When will you be back, Abe Lincoln? She said, in 60 or 90 days at the most, I return to my Lady Lizzie. ZZ, I'll return to my Lady Lizzie. Uh, he hadn't been gone more than 1 or 2 days, Richmond for to see, when back at to the White House gate he came, all tattered and torn was he. How did you flourish, Abe Lincoln? She said. The rebels have killed my old Scotch horse, and I have skedaddled, D, and I have skedaddled. Abe Lincoln rode his Burnside horse, which started at the rebels' fire. He threw the baboon head heels over head, and there he stuck tight in the mire, ire, and there he stuck tight in the mire.
There's no dying and things growing out of graves in that then.
Well, this is well, I'm reading this out of what was the book I've got is called The Penguin Book of Folk Ballads of the English Speaking World, originally published as the Viking Book of Folk Ballads of the English Speaking World. And no, that version has 6 verses,
Yeah.
but 1840s in Philadelphia, I think. Or maybe I'm misreading something. When was Abraham Lincoln around? What's
60s, 1860s.
1860s? So it can't be 1840s then. Yeah, there are 2 versions in this book I'm holding. Version A is from Hadaway's Select Songster, Philadelphia, 1840 or 1839 maybe, and version B is Davis, A.K. Davis. It's not B.
Yeah,
Davis, it's version B. Davis, A.K. Davis, Traditional Ballads of Virginia from
yeah,
Cambridge, Massachusetts, 1929. So that's where the Abe Lincoln version turns up in this version anyway. So,
yeah,
but yeah, so I've not come across that version. I've heard the Joe Muggins one before, but not
yeah,
the Abe Lincoln stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's just about covers everything. Mistletoe Bough, Giles Scroggins, Theatre, yeah, Walpole. Yeah, I think I've just about covered all the
Very
things
good.
I'm
I
cover
had an
there.
observation about the names. This whole thing about Hounsibel from that earliest version you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because to me, because what you get, I think, mostly in Lord Lovell's that we would know now is Nancy Bell.
Oh,
Two words,
every
Nancy Bell.
every version, Nancy Bell. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So
that's what it was in the 1830s, 40s.
right, okay, because Hounsibel, it just sounds like they made sense of Hounsibel by turning it into Nancy Bell.
Yeah,
Is that right?
exactly.
And therefore, I wonder, you may just say, no, this is rubbish, Matthew, stop talking. Or, because the name Isabel turns up a lot in old ballads, like Lady Isabel and the Elfin Knight, could, hypothetically, could Hounsibel be a misremembering of Isabel?
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's
So,
fine. That's the end of my question. I have no follow-ups to that. I was just as a thought occurred to me,
it's putting it in there. Yeah, that's quite a possible.
So I reckon the trajectory goes Isabel, Hounsibel, Nancy Bell. That's my theory, but I have no evidence really.
There is no evidence for it. Yeah, but yeah, it's possible.
But I like looking at the names and see how they differ. But I'm just going to scan through Child now. Version A in Child is Lady Ounce Bell. We mentioned that one already. That's
Yeah,
and
which
and it's Lord Lovell, Lovill. That one. I mean, spelling is spelling. Doesn't sometimes doesn't matter particularly. Version B in Child is Lord Lavell, Lavel, and Fair Nancy Bell, and Nancy Bell is one word rather than two. Uh, Version C in Child, that's American, I think, 1873 of Miss Fanny Walker of Mount Pleasant near Newburgh-on-Tay.
once you get past the 1830s and the 1840s burlesques, they're all the same. There's
I mean,
nothing that's
yeah, I
different.
mean this one says is Lord Travel.
Yeah,
Lord
but they're
Tra-
just derivatives of
Oh, I
Lovell.
know. I'm just curious to see what the different names are. That's all. Lord Travel and Ounceville in that one.
Ah, right.
Ounceville, Ounceville.
Where's that from then?
That's the one I just said. The communicated by Mr. Alex Lang, 1873, as taken down from the recitation of Miss Fanny Walker of Mount Pleasant near Newburgh-on-Tay.
Well, that's an interesting one because it harks back to the two earlier ones, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And they were both English.
Ounceville and Lord Travel.
So that's a Scottish version. A
Yes.
Scottish version that harks back to the two 18th century versions with a century in between. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? And
If you
then
can find any more like that puts a slightly different picture on things.
yeah, version D in Charben is the Kinloch manuscripts from the recitation of a lady in Roxburghshire. Lord Lovell and Lady Nancy Bell in that one. Version
Usual.
E, communicated by J.F. Campbell Esquire, as learnt from the singing of an English gentleman around 1850. And so that one, we've got Lord Lovell and we've got Lady Unzabel.
Ah.
Oonzabel.
So
Unzabel.
there are versions that are probably the thing is about them, have they got the first verse? Have
Oh,
those two Downs Bell and Oons Bell, have they got that first verse in them that
let's
Lord
let's have a look.
Lovell gate?
Let's have a look. The Travel and Ounceville one does. Yes, Lord Travel stands in his stable door, dressing
Ah,
his milk-white steed, and by comes Lady Ounceville. I wish you muckle speed.
that's interesting.
But the other one, with Unzabel, the 1850 from an English gentleman, starts with Now fare ye well, Lady Unzabel, for I must needs be gone to visit the King of fair Scotland. Oh, I must be up and rise.
That Scotland version then might be a sort of like a joining together of
A
the early
halfway house, yeah.
yeah, Halfway House, yeah.
Version E starts in that middle bit again.
Yeah.
Version F, let's just keep going. Lords Lovell and Nancy Bell. That's Newcastle upon Tyne version. That version G is the Harris manuscript from the recitation of Mrs. Mollison Dunlappy Lord Revel, and I don't think
Irish manuscripts are latish.
yeah, I don't think there's a name for it. Just says a lady, she stands in her bower door. I don't think it gives her a name. Which is oh, there we go. Later on, we don't get like her name in the first half of that one, but later on when she turns up, when he comes back and find that she's dead,
Mm.
it's then revealed that her name is Isabel.
Ugh. Mm.
Oh, there is a lady of so he says there's a verse, he rode and he rode along the highway till he came to it's meant to be Edinburgh, but it's spelt Edenborough. E D
Ah,
E
no,
N.
that Edinburgh, that spelling is used, that crops up a lot in London ballads. In
Ah,
those, I was telling you earlier about those Scotch ballads I'm studying at the moment.
oh yeah.
Every single time they use Edinburgh as a setting, it's spelled
Well, there we
Edinborough.
go. I was about to ask whether it was similar to earlier this season. David Atkinson and I did the Sir Patrick Spens and
Hmm.
the old Scots way of Norway's Norroway, and I wondered if there's any
Yeah,
connection with like that sort of thing or not.
Edinburgh, yeah, yeah.
But anyway, he says he till he came to Eatonborough town. Is there any fair lady dead? Said he, that the bells give such a tone. Oh yes, there's a lady, a very fine lady. Her name it is Isabel. She died for the sake of a young Scottish knight. His name it is Lord Revel.
Hmm.
Revel. So it's
Hmm.
Isabel there.
Yeah, yeah.
Version H is a London broadside of 1846 from Dixon's Ancient Poems, Ballads, and Songs of the Peasantry of England. Lord Lovell and Nancy Bell in that one.
It says something about having seen broadside, a Pitt's broadside, and none. I'm not aware that a Pitt's one. All of the broadsides of Lord Lovell are no earlier than about 1850.
Well, this child claims this one is says London broadside of 1846.
Well, that's not. Yeah, that's not
Yeah,
far off.
that's not far off, is it? No. And then version I says we're this is the last one as in child. Percy papers communicated by Principal Robertson, the historian.
Ah, I knew there was another Percy one. How does that start?
There came a ghost to Helen's bower with
Hey,
money a scion groan. Oh, make yourself ready at Wednesday at e'en. Fair Helen, you must be gone.
that's got nothing to do with Lord Lovell.
Oh, gay death, oh, gallant death, will you spare my life so long until I send to Merry Primrose, bid my dear lord come home. Why is this
That's
at the end of the Lord Lovell section?
huh?
I haven't skipped a page by accident. No, it's the next page.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's got stuff to do with it. I think the Lord does sort of he comes to Mary Primrose, and then she's died. I think maybe there's connections. And Fair Helen,
I'll have a
and
look at that. I hadn't spotted that
he
one.
was buried in Mary's kirk, the other in Mary's choir, and out of the tane there sprang a birch, and out of the t'other a briar.
Yeah, that's just the commonplace, isn't it? That occurs in lots of ballads.
Yeah, and it's got a bit about it's got a bit about him coming back, and he meets 24 gallant knights carrying a dead coffin. Set down, fair Helen's corpse. Let me look upon the dead. And out he took a little penknife, and he screeded the winding sheet.
Oh,
Moira Craig, our singing guest for this episode, might be able to translate some of this.
yeah,
But that's an interesting, odd thing that turns up at
it's
the end of Child.
very odd, very odd. It's nothing to do with
Percy
Lord
Pape
Lovell.
just says Percy Papers communicated by Principal Robertson, the historian.
Principal Robertson, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've just been reading about him. Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, so that's at the end of the section on Child. Anyway, so
oh,
that's thrown a
oh,
spanner in the works. Anyway,
I'm going to go away and have a look at that one now.
and then I just go through some of the Bronson ones. And we've it's not been one of our longest history segments, but nevertheless, we shouldn't have them be too long. So it's a lot. I mean, we were talking about this before, and there are 71 tunes in Child for this. That's a
Yeah,
hell of a lot. However,
pretty odd.
as you mentioned before we started, there are three groups of tunes. So what Bronson did, people don't know, was that he tended to group them together so that all of the similar tunes were in one group, and that sort of thing. So you've got rather than having Group 1, 2, and 3, or Group A, B, C, D, he's done Group A, Group AB, and Group AC, which is mildly confusing, but nevertheless, Group A,
What he means by that is that all of the tunes are pretty similar, and he's just separated like subgroups B and
he's
C.
right, okay, sure, yeah. And version A is basically the one I know, and it's the one everyone's going to know. And I can sing this by heart because I did learn this once, but I can't actually remember where I learnt it. I thought it was in a book, and then I couldn't find it in the book. But it's the one that goes, Lord Lovell, he stood at his castle gate, combing his milk-white steed, when by there came Lady Nancy Bell, a wishing Lord Lovell good speed, good speed, a wishing Lord Lovell good speed. And that tends to be like the most common tune,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
right. Yeah, absolutely.
But there are minor variations there. I mean, I'm picking things at random from Bronson now. Knoxville, Tennessee, 1838. Lord Lovell, he stood in his castle gate, combing his milk-white steed, when down came Lady Nancy Bell, a wishing her lover good speed, good speed, a wishing his lover good speed. It's all variations on a theme, really.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's sometimes you find a nice variation. Oh, what's
You
this
were
one?
seeing them through earlier to me, and some of them were quite nice tunes and recognizable as well.
Yeah, they were from the other subgroups, I think. I'll
In
come to
the
them
other
in a second.
subgroups.
Providence, Rhode Island, I think. Lord Lovell, he stood at his castle gate. They all start with that melody. Combing his milk-white steed, when by him there rode Lady Nancy Bell, wishing her lover good, wishing her lover good speed. Speed, speed, wishing her lover good speed. They all go in the same direction, but some of them have different slight variants, you know.
But all recognizably the same tune.
Indeed, and group AB starts at number 55. Let's scroll through to 55 because that was where we found some interesting. This just says Morris 1950. This is version 55.
A.C. Morris. A.C. Morris published a book of American songs.
Okay,
Uh,
sung by Mrs. G.A. Griffin of Newbury, learned from her father, Lord Lover in this one. Lord Lover stood at the castle gate, all dressed and ready to go, when up stepped Lady Nancy Bell to bid her lover goodbye. When up stepped Lady Nancy Bell to bid her lover goodbye. That's quite nice, that one. But they're all quite reminiscent of something else, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
And there's one in the Brown manuscript, sung by Miss Madge Nichols of Trinity College, Durham, NC. That's North Carolina, isn't it?
Yeah.
When will you come back, Lord Lovell? Said she. When will you come back? Said she. In a year or two or three at them, said he. I'll return to my Lady Nancy, see. I'll return to my Lady Nancy. Sung in the 1920s, that one.
Yeah.
So those version A, B have some similarities there. What's this? New York, 1939, sung by Professor James H. Hanford, learned from his grandmother in New York. Lord Lovell, he stood at his castle gate, a combing his milk-white steed. Lady Nancy Bell came riding by, a wishing her lover good speed. A wishing her lover good speed, speed, speed. A wishing her lover good speed. Lady Nancy Bell came a riding by, a wishing her lover good speed.
Sounds a bit like uh, um, Old Lang Syne.
There was a bit of that there. Da, ba, 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 bum, ba, dum. Yeah. Anyway, I could rattle off 20 more of these because there's 71 of them. Let's just go to the last one. Sorry, Steve, I'm interested in the last one, number 71 in Bronson, because it's from the Isle of Man, and it's the only entry in the Roud Index for the Isle of Man.
Right.
Lord Laban, Laban.
Mhm.
Uh, Clag, is that Clague? Clegg, is that
Plague, yeah. A
Clegg?
well-known actor in the Isle of Man.
Okay, there you go. 1936. That's Journal of the Folk Song Society, Volume 8, Number 30, 1926,
Yeah.
from the Isle of Man. As Lord Laban stood in his own stable door, all dressed in lily white stays, who chanced to pass by but Lady Nancy Bell, herself and Lord Laban agreed. That's a very strange melody
I don't know. It
and a bit modal.
sounds quite familiar.
Yeah, just not familiar with this set of lyrics, with this text,
No, very different. Well, what I was going to say earlier was the reason why you've got 20 tunes there that don't conform to the other 50 tunes is because a lot of people, especially in America, would have learnt them from broadsides. The broadside was printed in America as well, in New York in particular. There were two printers who printed it in New York and in Boston and places like that. So they would have probably, especially the people who bought it and were living in the outback somewhere, maybe not familiar with the theatrical versions, would put their own tune to it from the broadside.
Right, of course, yeah. And seems to be quite common a song on the sort of oral tradition side of things. Um, Certainly out of the 621 entries in the Roud Index, 116 of those are listed as sound recordings. That's very, very good.
That's high, yeah, yeah, yeah. So very, very popular, yeah, yeah. Very easy to learn, nice, simple tune, well-known tune that a lot of people know. So, it's you would expect, to be very popular and a lot of people to have sung it. You've sung it, I've sung it,
Yeah, yeah,
lots of sung it.
absolutely. The notable ones I wrote down. Walter Pardon had it, and he sang it where. I don't have a copy of that one somehow. There's a there is a Folkways, must be an LP probably, English folk music anthology by Folkways, and Walter Pardon's there. I was quite interested by Ethel Findlater. Was that how you pronounce the surname?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's from the Orkneys, Lord Lovell, and that's on the Seedman or Topic LP, Child Ballads One, which is the volume 4, I think, of that 10-volume Folk Songs of Britain set. Um, we've got Lizzie Higgins in Scotland on that's Lord Lovat.
Yeah.
Um,
When you think if these people were being recorded in the 1920s or 30s or something like that, uh, Sam Cowell was touring this song all around the country for many, many years, and others as well.
yeah, yeah,
It's not so difficult to imagine that these people would have heard him sing it and passed it around as well.
indeed, indeed. So, yeah, Lizzie Higgins had Lord Lovat, as did Ginny Robertson, Lord Lovat. And we're going to talk about that later on because Moira Craig is our singer guest, and she sings the Lizzie Higgins one. So we're going to talk about that one later on. Apparently there's Emily Bishop. It was Gloucestershire singer Emily Bishop. There's a recording of her somewhere. I quite like. There is a recording of Emily Bishop singing something else somewhere. I can't remember what it is, but I like her singing. In America, there's Frank Prophet, recordings of Frank Prophet singing it. Gene Ritchie. Going back to an episode we did at the end of the last season, as a bonus episode to round out the last season of the podcast, we did an episode celebrating the release or re-release of the veteran CD "Catch Me If You Can," were the recordings that Pete Coe made of Charlotte Reynolds, Betsy Reynolds, and Sophie Legg. And
Yeah.
on that is Charlotte Reynolds singing Lord Lovell.
All right. I think I've got that somewhere.
Highly
Yeah.
recommend that. Stanley Robertson had Lord Lovat as well in Scotland. Um,
Well, he'd have got it from Lizzie Higgins and Jeannie as well.
Jeannie Robertson. He was Jeannie Robertson's nephew, so yeah.
Yeah.
Walter Pardon, there we go. There's a musical traditions release of Walter Pardon called Put a Bit of Powder on It, Father, which is a
Yeah.
musical song, I suppose, isn't it? It sounds like it.
Yeah.
And there's a recording of him singing Lord Lovell there. I mean, there's over 100 recordings. I'm reeling off some American names now. Anna Fisk-Hugh, Anna Tate Moore, Belle Luther Richards, more Walter Pardon, Anna Corbin Ball. There's loads, absolutely loads of these. Oh, there's a name I recognise, Captain Pearl R. Nye. There's recordings of him turn up all over the place. Anyway, quite a lot and too many to mention them all. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, it's proving my point. This turns up a lot. Oh, there's an Irish one, a woman called Nora Cleary as well. That's one of Jim Carroll's collecting
Yeah.
sessions. But there's a lot of them anyway, so that's the point.
To turn up in every corner of the English-speaking world, and I'm sure it did.
Yeah, that's right. Because the countries, if you filter by countries in the index, you get USA, Scotland, England, Ireland, Canada, and one in Northern Ireland as well. Oh, that's the parody sung by Paddy Tunney.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there would be versions in Australia as well, I'm pretty certain
I'm
of.
sure there would. Yeah, and interesting. If you filter it down by format in the index, you get 196 entries in books, 116 sound recordings, 66 broadsides, same for manuscripts, and then journals, songsters, newspapers, chapbooks, etc. Yeah, widely found on all counts, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
which is very good. And I think we'll leave things there.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Thanks again, as usual, for your time on this.
Very welcome. Yeah.
This has been fascinating stuff. And yeah, well, this is your only appearance in this season of the podcast, but I will definitely have you on one episode, I think, in the next season, which will be around about March or April next year. So until then, until we meet again, Steve Gardham, thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
A huge thanks again to Steve Gardham for providing us with the history of Lord Lovell. And that brings us to the halfway point in the episode, so let's hear some traditional versions of this song. So what you're going to hear now are clips of Jeannie Robertson, Nora Cleary, Charlotte Reynolds, Ethel Findlater, and Lizzie Higgins.
Lord Lovett, he stands at his table door. He was brushing his milk steed down when who passed by but Lady Nancy Bell. She was wishing her a lover Godspeed. She was wishing her a lover Godspeed. Oh, where are you going? Lord, love it, she said. Come, promise, tell me true. Over the sea, strange countries to see. Lady Nancy Bell, I'll come and see you. Lady Nancy Bell, I'll come and see you.
Lord Lovell stood on his own stable door, and he mounted his snow white steed. Lady Anne's sweet bell stood by his side, for to bid him his last Godspeed. Ah, where are you going, Lord Lovell, she said. Ah, where are you going from me? I am going to land beyond the sea. Strange countries I'd like to see.
Where are you going, Lord Lovell, she says. Where are you going, said she. I'm going, my lady Nancy Bella, strange country for to see. When will you be back, Lord Lovell, she says. When will you be back, said she. In a year or two, or three at the most, I'll return to my lady Nancy.
Lord Lovell, he stood at his castle gate, combing his milk-white steed, when down came Lady Love Nancy Bill, to wish her lover good speed, 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 to wish her lover good speed. Oh, where are you going, Lord Lovell, she says, oh, where are you going, says she. I'm going, my lady love, Nancy Bell, strange countries for to see, 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 strange countries for to see.
Lord Lovety stands at his stable door. He was brushing his milk steed down, when who passed by, but Lady Nancy Bell. She was wishing her lover Godspeed. She was wishing her lover Godspeed. Oh, where are you going, Lord Lovett, she said. Come, promise, tell me true, going over the seas, strange countries to see. Lady Nancy Bell, I'll come and see you. Lady Nancy Bell, I'll come and see.
And I'll put links to where you can find those recordings in the show notes. On to the second half of this episode then. To chat more about Lord Lovell, I was joined by singer Moira Craig. Well, hello and a big welcome to In the Roud, Moira Craig. Hello.
Hello, Matt. How are you?
Hi, I'm actually not doing very good at the moment. As first time I said this on the podcast, not very good at all. I'm just a little under the weather, shall we say, but probably a big under the weather, a lot under the weather rather than a little. But time marches on. Podcast deadlines have to be met.
Yeah.
I mean, I set them myself, but they have to be met, and so here we are at work. But as long as I do a food shop, an online delivery, I don't have to leave the house for the next 6 days. So,
Well, that's good.
so I can, as well as working and sitting at this desk, I can just sort of shut myself away and recuperate. So it should be fine. How are you? How's things?
Fine, yeah. We're just kind of pickling along as usual,
Good.
going out doing things and shopping.
Yes. Oh, I do love shopping.
Oh, do you?
Well, it depends what I'm buying. Something for me. It's very nice indeed.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for asking me to do this. I'm really
pleasure.
Pleased to be here in my dining room.
In your dining room. Yes, it's I like the podcast because it's a really sort of comprehensive work from home project for everyone involved. So it's nice. No one has to leave the house.
Yeah.
Although I did do, I think it was early this year. I did record, or it might have been the tail end of last year. I did go on the road and do 3 interviews in person, just because I think there was someone on the Patreon who their internet connection was so bad that we couldn't even get like a conversation going. So I went to their house in Newcastle and did it. And I thought, while I'm up here, Vic Gammon's in Hexham. I could just pop over and do our next one in person. And then I thought, well, Mossy Christian's just past Hexham, as it was at the time. I could just, we'll do one next week. I said, are you free tomorrow? And he said, yes. So I did 3, and I did a little northeast tour, yes. But apart from that, it's all work from home. And as things are happening these days, live episodes of the podcast are happening at festivals. So I'm taking In the Roud on the road, as I've been calling it. I did one at the, I've done one so far, which I did at the Stowmarket Traditional Music Day.
Oh, right, yes.
In September. So that was the test run for the live episode, which went very well. And I can't reveal properly yet for listeners, but there's at least 3 festivals I'm doing next year with live episodes at.
Brilliant.
So that should be very exciting. So, but yes, let's get to today's subject matter. Before we get into the song Lord Lovell, give us a bit of Moira Craig history, a bit of how did you come to folk music? Was it something you found, or was it something that was thrust upon you from an early age? What's the story there?
Well, it's a kind of bit of a mixture of all of that, really. I mean, there was always music and singing in the house. My parents both sang. My father was a member of a male voice choir. So I was used to going and listening to them and having the lovely harmonies of that. And my mother used to sing us songs, and every time we had a family gathering, everybody did their party piece. And I didn't realise that was, I thought everybody did it. And then discovered that, well, they didn't. So, I mean, we had things like, my 2 brothers and I used to dress up and sing, there was a soldier, a Scottish soldier who wanted fun. Yeah. And then my uncle used to sing 3 nights and a Sunday double time. So there was all sorts, like Matt McGinn, you name it, it was all there. And then I was in school choirs. There was also the music and song that they used to do through the through school, it was Music and Movement or something. I can't remember now what it was called, but on a well, it might have been a Friday, I can't remember, but there was a big radio in the headmaster's office, and there were speakers throughout the school, and he would turn it on at a certain time, and you'd get this program from BBC, and you would they had little pamphlets that were sent and distributed around the school, and you could sing. So there was all sorts of stuff in that, like the Mingley boat song, a lot of Scottish stuff, Aiken drum, so I think I probably first heard kind of folk music in those days in the school, and then I joined a big choir, which I had called the Scottish Junior Singers, and they were brilliant. We had a most fantastic conductor there. She was just great. And we used to do big concerts in Glasgow. They used to, for the Christmas concert, used to take over the Odeon Cinema, and we'd have a big Christmas concert there. And then there was a big hall, I can't remember the name of that, where we used to do the summer concert. And they were great. And we did arrangements of folk songs like some of the Kodai big fancy arrangements there was the blacksmith being one of them.
Oh yeah.
But the big choral arrangement was awful. I didn't think so at the time, but when you hear the original, when you go, when you sing all these things, and then you hear the original years later and think, bloody hell, that's what that was.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was a kind of convoluted way. And then I joined after I was 18. We had to leave this big choir because women's voices don't break in the same way as boys do. But after the age of around about the age of 18, they do alter. So you lose that kind of youthful quality to it. So I had to leave that choir. And I ended up joining a thing in East Kilbride called the Folk Circle, and that was people that were interested in folk music. And we went round and did all sorts of things for charities. And I met two guys there, both of them played guitar and both had brilliant voices. So we set up a little group, we kind of sang anything we liked. We did Beatles, we did all sorts of stuff in 3-part harmony. And it was fabulous. And then I had moved down to London, and for quite a while I didn't do any folk music until I met Malcolm.
Oh yes.
That was it then, because we discovered when he said to me, "What kind of music do you like?" And I said, "No." I said, "What kind of music do you like?" And he said, "Oh, you'll not know them." I said, "Well, try." And he said, "The Copper Family, Peter Bellamy." And I thought, "Oh, this is my man." And that was it. So then, the first time I sang down south was at a little folk day, and I was my mum was with us as well, and they were looking for people to sing, and my mum said, she'll sing. I'm like, "Oh, Mum, don't." Anyway, I sang. So the first time I sang down here was My Donnell. And it kind of just went on from there, and people kept asking me to sing and do things, and then I went to various festivals, Sidmouth being one of them, and I met up with Sarah Morgan.
Oh yeah.
And I'd met Carolyn before as well, so I think that was in about 2003 we actually got together and started singing together, and that was just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And then, of course, poor Sarah died, and Caroline and I just carried on. And then also I'd been singing a bit with Ron Taylor, who was part of the Songwainers.
Oh yes, yeah.
Until COVID, and of course we stopped then, and we've never really quite got back into that. In fact, I really need to phone him. Sorry. So that's kind of my story into folk music. One of the other things that I will say was that when my father got our first record player, he used to go to the library, and it was at a time when libraries were lending LPs, and that's a very long time ago. And he brought home these amazing LPs of Czechoslovakian singers. The female singers, like, years ago there was the trio Bulgar, was it trio somebody or other that came over?
Oh yes, I vaguely remember something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they were stunning. And the Red Army Choir, oh God, and that's what really strengthened my love of harmony, and the love of the folk music was just because I can't even really pin it down why. There was something more real about it than the kind of popular stuff that like the music of the day kind of stuff, that really just plucked at my heartstrings, really. So that's it.
There we go. Lovely. So when did the song Lord Lovell turn up for you? Do you have do you remember a time before Lord Lovell, as it were, or is this a song that you'd, in terms of singing folk songs, you'd always known, or did you find the song?
I found it. I think what I was looking for tracks. I was looking for songs to put on the LP that not the LP, the CD that I was recording, and I just found the Lizzie Higgins LP, and I was playing through, and I heard it on there, and I thought, that's just lovely. I think I would like to learn that, and I learned it, and that was it. It was just the simplicity of it. I loved the tune. And people, it's been written, and it's a song of little merit. And to me, it's like a Reader's Digest version of a much longer story. It's just the edited highlights. It's dead straightforward. She comes up and says to him, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going away across the sea, but I'll be back." And then he has this dream, and he feels that something's wrong. So he comes all the way back and discovers she's dead. It's Romeo and Juliet. It's Anarchy Gordon, all that kind of stuff. And yeah. So it was like finding a little gem there when I was listening to the LP, looking for stuff to put on my LP. A CD. Oh,
CD.
I didn't have it out too.
It's that's yes, I love that Lizzie Higgins LP. That's the topic LP. Up and a While with the Laverick.
Yeah.
Infamous for having a bird on the cover that's not a laverick.
Yes.
It really is infamous on the folk scene. That it's like you had one job, and it just maybe it just looked better. Maybe I can't actually remember what a lavrock looks like. Maybe a lavrock's
the trouble with lavrocks is that you can hardly see them because they're usually way up in the sky, too high.
Well, they are up and away, as the title suggests.
Yes.
But I guess they're not as photogenic, maybe, or artistic genic.
I haven't seen one close up to be able to comment.
No, exactly. But yeah, that's a thing people know now on that record, that it's a drawing of a bird, but it's not a laverick. Can't remember what it is though on the cover.
I'll need to look more closely and see.
Yeah, someone did tell me once, but I can't actually remember. Yeah, that's a recording of Lizzie Higgins singing Lord Lovat in that one, isn't it?
Yes,
rather than
well,
Lovell.
that's what I sing, is Lord Lovat.
Yeah. Lord Lovat. Tony Engel recorded Lizzie singing that. That's in 1975 in her home in Aberdeen. Peter Hall wrote the sleeve notes for that and said, yes, just a bit like what you said about, people call things, said, this ballad has had a bad press from the scholars because of its alleged triviality of its story. And indeed, one can understand this attitude in those who have only read the text. In a performance of such emotional commitment as Lizzie Higgins is, this universal yet simple narrative cannot fail to grip the listener.
Yeah, well, that's it exactly. Who are they to say that it's trivial?
Yeah, it's everything's life and death to someone.
Yes.
In a way, he said Professor Bronson. I assume that means James Bronson, the Tunes for the Child Ballads, says this. He describes it as a too insipid ballad made up of tripping melody and lachrymose text. But what does he know? Exactly, what does he know? Yeah, so it's
the other thing that I now realise is that because the tune that I sing is different to the one that most people know. So as I got it from Lizzie Higgins, that was the tune that she sang. So that's the tune that I sing. And I looked Bronson, and I can't find that tune anywhere in Bronson.
No, I wonder that Bronson somehow didn't manage to include the Lizzie Higgins version. Oh, well, no, obviously not. The Lizzie Higgins recording, this is, I just maths here. The Lizzie Higgins recording is from 1975, and Bronson was collecting things compiled that in the 50s, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously that he hadn't.
So I wonder where it started, where that tune came from.
Well, I mean, Peter Hall finishes his notes for this track on that LP by saying, a very old Perthshire woman taught the piece to Jeannie, which is Jeannie Robertson, I assume, Robertson, and which I said Lizzie Higgins' mum, and she used it as a lullaby for her daughter, who now naturally regards it with special affection.
Oh, yes, I do remember hearing that bit, but I wasn't sure. Yes,
indeed. That's as far back as you can't really sort of trace the lineage of that tune, but maybe if chances are, if Lizzie had heard it as a lullaby from her mum, Jeannie Robertson, then things evolve and change, and how accurate can she be with her memory as a child?
Absolutely.
Hearing her mum singing stuff, and so.
Well, we know as even ourselves, things change as we sing them.
Oh yes, absolutely they do. But yes, because I think most people do know the version that, or at least the version of the melody that, I guess, basically I'll come to later on, but the one that Peter Bellamy sang, for example, I think is the melody that most people recognise. That's the going to try and sing with a dodgy throat here, but the Lord Lovell, he stood at his own castle gate, combing his milk-white steed, and by it came Lady Nancy Bell, to bid him Lord Lovell good speed, to bid Lord Lovell good speed. And I think for most people, if you said Lord Lovell to them, if they know about the song, that's the one people are going to know. So it's nice to hear a different melody.
I can see how that could have kind of morphed into the tune that I sing,
right?
Because there are similarities in the
ups and downs,
the uppy downy bits, yes. Sorry, I'm not very technically minded with music. Right. I don't read music, and I don't,
No, and sometimes it's obvious when it comes to that with like just hearing a melody. I think Vic Gammon was saying recently on another episode, might have been something on the Patreon, or it might have been last week on Young Hunting. Apologies, listeners, I can't remember if it was last week or not. But the idea that these melodies, sometimes you can listen to two different melodies and go, oh yeah, they're clearly the same melody. I recognise that bit from the previous one.
Yes.
But sometimes it's something you don't notice until, this is if you can read music, that if you see them both written down, you can recognise the sort of the
pattern,
the patterns, or there's a specific word I'm looking for, contours, shall we say, of the melody, and you might not recognise them orally, but you can recognise the shape of it as it moves around.
Yes.
So I'm sure if we wrote down the more well-known melody for this and the one that Lizzie Higgins sung, you probably look at it and go, oh yeah, in the end of that line, they both end up higher than the previous bit.
Yes.
But yeah, but it's a shame that we haven't got a more specific kind of lineage for that melody, or the words, I suppose, either for that one.
Well, I mean, yes, it's interesting as well because this is one of the things I find sometimes with some of the Travellers versions when I was saying there about them it being very straight and to the point because the Lizzie Higgins version doesn't have all that, you know, the bit about the coffin and the rose and the briar and all that.
Oh, I
Extra
see. It hasn't got the floating bit that turns up in so many of the ballads.
Yeah, which is that's always really intrigued me about the ballads is the number of bits that you can lift off one and stick it in the other quite happily.
Yeah,
and I quite like it's like my version of May Colvin that doesn't have the parrot at the end of it. You know, I can't be doing with the parrot. Why is parrot there?
Well, I listen to last week's episode. You'll hear Vic Gammon describing why parrots should be there.
Okay.
No, there's a whole thing because last week was Young Hunting or Earl Richard,
Right.
and that one, like the Outlandish Knight, the parrot is it can be seen effectively as the voice of the conscience, as the Jiminy Cricket of folk songs, I guess.
Okay.
The voice of the lady's conscience when she comes home to find that her true love has died or whatever. Or that she has done something wrong. The parrot is there to say, you know, that you did a bad thing or something. But I don't know what it is in May Colvin, but we may come to that one day. But yeah, it's the same sort of thing. It depends whether you like talking birds or not. They turn up a lot in folk songs.
I think because the version that I sing, how she goes and she actually tells her parents what's happened, and they go back on their horse. They go back to where the deed was done, and they bury the corpse so that it can't be seen. She gets away with it,
right.
Which I think is very nice of their parents to do that. Look after your kids, folks.
Indeed. And there we go. I've just found the set of words written out, transcription of the Lizzie Higgins text. Lord Lovat, Lady Nancy Bell. Again, that's the most common female name in versions of this. Although I was really fascinated by the stuff that Steve Gardham was saying about the names and because the other ones, whatever they were. We found one that was Isabel, I think, didn't we?
Yes, I thought that probably sounded about the most likely. Hounsabel could be Isabel, and just people are mispronouncing it or mishearing it.
Yeah, that was my theory, that it went from Isabel to Hounsabel to Nancy Bell.
Yes.
It seems like a logical sort of step-by-step process of people mishearing what's going on and making it into something sensible, or at least something sensible in their eyes. Is Lady Nancy Bell, and he passed down through Capelton's church. Like Capelton, is that right?
I don't know. I sing Capel Church.
Oh, okay.
But that might just be me not hearing properly.
Right, sure, yeah. And yes, just ends with who is dead. Lady Nancy Bell is dead, and she died for Lord Lovat. The end.
Yeah, the end. No more to be said.
No talking birds. Not that there would be anyway. This one.
No.
But we don't get the tacked on. And I guess I think this is, again, I record this podcast in so out of order that I may have mentioned this with Steve, or it may have been with someone else. This idea about this whole briar and rose, or any flowers or whatever growing out of bodies and entwining into a true lover's knot, does feel a bit like a kind of stock happy ending that you can put on any ballad where the main characters die.
Yeah.
If you've got a tragedy, like, I guess someone idiotic could put that at the end of Romeo and Juliet because they don't like the sad ending.
Yeah.
It's basically, if you've got a folk song that's got a sad ending where both romantic leads die, tack on the Rose and the Briar ending, and you've got a happy ending.
Do you know, I must
Or,
try that. I'll find another ballad that would work with and try it.
or not a happy ending, but at least an optimistic sort of,
I suppose it's to represent eternal love.
Yes, it's every cloud has a silver lining ending. There you go. Although yes, an extra silver lining. But yeah, so Rose and Briar, and then you get.
But I mean, I have found that with some travellers' versions of ballads is that they take out bits that aren't necessarily part of the story. They take out bits that you can quite easily get rid of, and the story still makes sense.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think of another example of that, and I can't. Sorry.
That's all right. But we'll definitely have more Rose and Briar action as time goes by, as it were, with the podcast. Because, I mean, yeah, we've already had it a couple of times. I think that ending over the seasons so far.
Mm-hmm.
And next season we've got Barbara Allen because it's Roud 54. So that's a main contender for Rose and Briar endings. And then nothing to do with it really, but a shout out to the brilliant songwriting of Tom Waits for writing the song "The Briar and the Rose."
Yes,
the most. I mean, partly because it's one of the most folky songs he ever wrote, but it's the song of his that has been sort of taken on by the folk scene in a way. A lot of people, Faye Heald particularly, recorded it, and because it's so intrinsically linked to folk songs in a way, to get this whole song called "The Briar and the Rose," which is fantastic.
Yes.
Although there are other songs of Tom Waits that I think are better kind of folk song things, but I do like Briar and the Rose as well. And incidentally, there's a recording of him singing "The Two Sisters" on the album, which is
that's another. I love that.
Which is very good. Yeah, it's great. We did that in season 1, "The Two Sisters," so a long time ago. I mean, it's such a simple song, isn't it? In some ways, not to say as we just read out, the triviality of the story, but because it is such a simple sort of tale, there isn't really much to say, and there was so much more to say from Steve Gardham's end about all the variations and the sort of turn on the music hall and all the parodies.
I've not heard parodies of it, I must admit.
No,
I was interested in what he was talking about, the burlesque style and all the kind of repetition bits. And the ballads are notorious for repetition. But I haven't even heard anything that does. Well, no, I did hear something that one of them that was that he talked about towards the end of the verses, where they kept repeating and made it sound a bit like a children's song.
Yeah.
Which, and the version I do doesn't do that. It has a repeat line at the end, but I quite like that because it gives people something to join in with and feel part of it. And some people think that's a bit trivial, but I like people to feel that they can get involved, in some way or another, and get the feeling of it. But I can see what he was saying about those versions that have a lot of repetition and make it sound trivial. Because to me, it's not a trivial song. It's a really moving, deep song. Because if he'd known that she was going to die of love, I don't think he would have gone.
Yes, indeed so. And going back to the parodies briefly, I remember I did hear a parody of it for quite a lot of my, not childhood or youth, but my teenage years, probably, because I was going to the Royal Oak Folk Club in Lewes every week because my dad was on the resident musicians, and I became one as well after a while. So I was hearing people sing every Thursday night. once I was old enough that I could go to bed at 11 p.m. on a school night, I was able to go to the folk club, and so one of the other resident musicians on the Royal Oak Folk Club in Lewes on a Thursday night was Will Duke, who was in a duo with my dad,
Yeah.
and he used to sing a parody of Lord Lovell, which I think he learnt from. I don't know if he actually learnt it from him, because I know Will learnt a lot of songs, sort of folk songs and music hall related folk songs, from the singing of Lucky Luckhurst.
All right.
And so, because I've got a couple of cassettes of Lucky Luckhurst, but it's a grey area for Steve Roud about whether Steve includes Lucky Luckhurst as a source on the Roud Index. Is he a traditional singer or not? That's a debate for another time. But Will learned a lot from Lucky Luckhurst, and I think Lucky Luckhurst had this parody of Lord Lovell, but Will sang it anyway, and it was called Joe Muggins. And he's it's a goat instead of a milk white steed, and when it's the Brian the Rose, but you get out of what the second first one is, but it's a leek instead of a rose or something. It's that sort of thing. And it's quite funny.
Let's try and get to sing that sometime.
It's quite funny if you like that sort of thing. I know a few people who find that any kind of folk song parody or what's the word, jocular version of something is sacrilege, and should.
Yes, I know.
But I think they will say, is nothing sacred? And I think the answer is no, nothing sacred. And I think this is my thing about. This is a another tangent, but the Kipper family, Sid Kipper, and everything, those fabulous parodies of folk songs. Chris Sugden, who played Sid Kipper, Chris could only have written all those parodies if he couldn't have written them if he didn't have a deep love for them.
Absolutely.
And I think they are. I mean, they are hilarious and in some cases disgraceful and outrageous in a way you can't sing now, but a lot of them you still can sing now. But you can't write that without a deep love and knowledge of it. You can't
absolutely.
You can't just toss out a parody of something unless you have a deep understanding of what's going on in the first place. And but then I guess something with like the Lord Lovell parodies from the burlesques and whatever, it's effectively that is just let's change the words a bit, make it a bit funnier, and people will laugh.
Yeah.
So that's a different kind of parody, I guess. But anyway, so Will Duke certainly does sing Joe Muggins. In fact, Will Duke did. This brings us on to the recommended listening section quite nicely.
Okay.
What a segue. Will Duke made a solo CD. I can't remember the year. It must have been, I reckon, around 2015 or no. Yes, I have no idea when it came out. Sometime this century, let's say.
Okay.
A solo CD, which he didn't really want to do. He was fine to do it, but he's a lovely guy, Will Duke, but he's so like self-effacing and just like quite shy and modest.
Yes.
And he was under the impression that he just thought, why would anyone want to buy a CD of me? I'm just playing some tunes, singing some songs. And so he didn't for ages. And through popular demand, he did relent and make a CD. And he wanted to have loads of guest musicians on it, just him. And everyone he asked said, no, we want to hear you on your own. And he relented, and he created a CD called Out of the Box.
Oh, no, I've got a feeling we've got that.
And track 12 on there is Joe Muggins.
Okay, right.
Out of the Box by Will Duke with I'm pretty sure the cover image is one of the legendary cartoons, is a cartoon by the legendary Melodian player and cartoonist Tony Hall, which I saw only a couple of weeks ago at our club in Sheffield. He is still as mad as ever. But yes, Will Duke sings the Joe Muggins parody, and it's on his solo album Out of the Box.
Right. I must look for that.
Who would you recommend people hear in terms of other modern recordings?
Modern? Well,
I say modern, like anywhere after 1960. You know,
yeah.
not
Well,
not traditional singers, basically. You know.
I've I haven't heard very many people actually singing it. Um, but it's one of these situations where um, if somebody if if you know somebody sings a song, then they won't sing it if you're there. So there may be other people that sing Lord Love It, but they wouldn't do it if I was around. I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe.
obviously they've got to listen to Lizzie Higgins, but that she's traditional, so that doesn't really count.
That's all right. Well, yes, absolutely. Highly
Yeah.
recommend Lizzie Higgins.
Um, Heather Haywood.
Oh, okay. This is not someone. I don't think I've heard of Heather Haywood, in fact.
Have you not? You know Pete Haywood.
Oh, that name rings a massive bell, and I
Pete
can't
Haywood.
bring it to mind.
They used to run the folk traditions magazine.
Oh, okay. Yes, right. It's gradually coming back to me now.
Yeah.
My ill brain-addled state.
Oh, I'm surprised. Well, mind you, Heather didn't really ever go out much, but
Right.
she has the most stunning voice. And so I can't remember the name of the CD it was.
Oh, I found it here. It's Some Kind of Love
Yes.
from
Now,
1987. That's on the Green Tracks label.
yes, the Green Tracks.
Yeah.
She sings that, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, well,
Listen to that.
Yeah, I must check that out.
Yeah, and who else? Oh yeah, obviously the Rosie Hood, the the duo.
Oh, yes. So Rosie, Rosie Hood, ex-bandmate of mine from
Yes.
our days in the Dovetail Trio. Yeah, if you're lucky enough to track down an EP she made in 2011, which was a very limited sort of run of just in a CD in a cardboard sleeve, that was a self-released EP. It's on there.
All right.
And then she released it on her 2017 debut solo album, The Beautiful and the Actual. And yes, there's a video on YouTube of
Yes.
the Rosie Hood duo. That's Rosie and Nicola Beasley.
Yes, that's right.
Only called the Rosie Hood duo because there aren't 3 or 4 of them. There's normally 3 or 4 of them, but for that gig, clearly only one of them was available, so they had. But normally that band is Rosie and Rosie Hood singing and playing tenor guitar, Rosie Butler Hall playing fiddle and harmony vocals, Robin Chickott on melodeon, and in that duo video it's Nicola Beasley playing fiddle.
Yeah.
And up until recently it's been Nicola Beasley. Nicola Beasley has stepped away from the band due to life and things moving on, too busy,
As it
etc.
does.
And
Yeah.
she's been replaced by a brilliant fiddler called Bridget Slater,
Oh, okay.
who's a fantastic fiddle player. And so there, I imagine that song is still in their set, I think, whenever they do gigs. So,
And they do the better known tune.
oh yes, Rosie said that the words are in the book Folk Songs of the Upper Thames, Alfred Williams collecting.
Oh yes.
He collected it from a Prudence Goodfield from Crodwell.
Right.
And and it's in Alfred Williams's book, Folk Songs of the Upper Thames. And then Rose said that the melody came from the Peter Bellamy version. It got the melody from Peter Bellamy, but the words are collected by Alfred Williams, that version.
Of course, the folk songs for the Upper Thames. Barbara Berry wrote a lot of the tunes for those.
Ah, okay. Yes, I think I did know that in the depths of my memory, but yes, Rosie Hood, and I will just mention, we've mentioned Peter Bellamy a couple of times. Peter Bellamy, that's on it's not actually on an officially sort of original album of Peter's.
No.
Because there's basically, in 2004, Feldside Recordings released a 2-disc sort of re-release of 2 of Peter's albums. Disc 1 was his 1975 album, Peter Bellamy, self-titled, and the second disc is his 1983 cassette called Fair Annie, which was just a private issue of 500 copies, that cassette, so you're quite hard-pressed to come by that one. Although we spoke about that one this season because it's got the song Fair Annie on it, and that was earlier this season. But Fellside released the 2-disc thing, and the second disc is the CD of the Fair Annie cassette, and that 2-disc set is called Fair Annie. But on the 1975 album Peter Bellamy, Lord Lovell is not there. However, on the CD reissue, there are 4 extra tracks: Fanny Blair, Lord Lovell, Mountain Streams with a Moorcocked Crow, and The Streets of Derry. And the notes just say, 4 tracks previously unreleased from the album's recording sessions, ? So, if you've got a copy of Peter Bellamy on LP, it's not there. But if you've got the Fellside CD re-release, you've got a recording of Peter singing Lord Lovell unaccompanied. Okay. But because it was never officially released, we haven't got any. He never wrote any sleeve notes for that,
right?
So we've no idea where he got his one from or how that links to anything. But nevertheless, always worth hearing Peter Bellamy singing any song.
Yeah,
wonderful stuff. And there's a fairly sizable list on Mainly Norfolk of people who've sung this song over the years. But I just want to bring another name to the fore because it's not mentioned that often on the podcast because he didn't do that many traditional songs, at least record them. Was a singer called Dave Burland.
Yes, I've come across David.
Who is still alive, lives not a million miles from me, actually, somewhere. I better get in touch. He made an album in 1971, his debut album called A Dalesman's Litany. And on middle of side 1 is Lord Lovell there. And he wrote the melody himself for that one. He put no melody to it. And
let's try and find that.
And it's a version from Child. He said he just picked one of the ones in Child, I think.
Okay.
And so, yeah, there's but Dave is a really brilliant. Anyone doesn't know Dave Burnham, fantastic singer and guitar player.
He is indeed.
And yeah, famous for doing his 2 albums. Oh, he's done quite a lot of albums, but there are 2 big ones: A Dalesman Litany from 1971 and Dave Burland 1972. Both of them are on the Trailer label and therefore unavailable unless you're lucky enough to have them. But many other albums of the years, but I think quite well known for a 1992 album called His Master's Voice, where he recorded 14 Richard Thompson songs and got loads of friends on it: Simon Kerr, Julie Matthews, Christine Collister, a lot of people to help him out on all the songs. Yeah. And he even managed to get Richard Thompson on the album to play guitars. And so that's, I think Dave's quite well known for that album as well. But yes, I see Dave once in a blue moon. He's in North Yorkshire, so lovely guy.
Mm.
But there we go. That's a small list of things. But there's, if you look at Mainly Norfolk, plenty more. Yes, I think we should let's draw this to a close.
Okay.
It's been fantastic to hear your thoughts on the song and to hear you talk about Lizzie Higgins a bit. I mean, wonderful singer, Lizzie Higgins.
Yeah.
We could talk
fantastic.
Do a whole episode on her. We might actually at some point on the Patreon we do episodes on we'll call Singer Spotlight, and I might do one on Lizzie Higgins at some point.
Yeah.
But
it'd be good.
It's great to hear from you on that. And yes, what have you got coming up? Have you got any gigs coming up, or where can people find you, or would you like to remain hidden?
No. Well, Carolyn and I are doing a gig at the Cecil Sharp House on Wednesday. It's Wednesday.
Oh, that's the day this episode goes out.
All right. Oh well.
So if you're in London and you're free to,
you can record the podcast. Okay, you can't record the Cecil Sharp House. You just need to come.
That's right. Yeah. If anyone's lives in London and listening to this episode on the day it goes out, and you're free tonight, you can come and hear. You can come and hear Moira and Carolyn at Cecil Sharp House.
Yeah. So that's the Mike Norris's traditional night. So looking forward to that. Then there's nothing else coming up before Christmas. Carolyn had a stroke the year before last, so we cut down quite a lot. But she's absolutely fine.
She is. I saw you both at Whitby, and she's doing fabulously.
Well, she phoned me from the hospital on the Thursday night after she'd had the stroke on the Tuesday, and I would never have guessed.
Wow.
She was absolutely amazing. It just shows you what the initial treatment, if you can get that golden hour, and that's what saved her. Was the stroke nurse was there waiting for her, treated her, and it's just fantastic. So, but she wanted to take last year very, very easy. So,
and that's fair enough.
Yeah, but things are coming up.
Great. We'll look for you at festivals next year, I guess, as well, and other gigs and things.
Chippenham, Sidmouth, Whitby.
Great. I will be at those, I imagine. I usually am. So that'll be good.
And Morton, you know about Morton? You know about Morton?
Oh, the Morton in Marsh. Yes. I was at the very first one.
So was I.
Yeah, I think I just went rather than was booked, and I was booked at the second one. And I missed the third one, and next year's the fourth one.
Yes.
I may be there. I'm not sure. Depends on my diary and things, but I'll have a look at some point. But
lovely weekend.
Yeah, good fun. Nice kind of throwback to the old sort of traditional music weekends and things.
Yeah, the national. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely stuff.
Great. Yeah.
Great. And we're about, in a couple of seconds, we're going to hear the recording of you singing Lord Love It. But until we see you again, Moira Craig, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Lord Lovett, he stood by his stable door. He was brushing his milk steed down, when who should pass by but Lady Nancy Bell. She was wishing her lover Godspeed. She was wishing her lover Godspeed. Oh, where are you going, Lord Lovett, she said. Come, promise, tell to me. I'm going across the sea, strange countries far to see. And Lady Nancy Bell, I'll come and see you. Lady Nancy Bell, I'll come and see you. Well, he hadn't been gone a year or twa, or scarcely had been 3, when a mighty full dream came into his head. Lady Nancy Bell, I'll come and see you. Lady Nancy Bell, I'll come and see you. Well, he rode out through Capel Church, and down through Mary's Lane, and the ladies were crying full sair, and the ladies were crying full sair. Oh, who is this, Lord Lovett, he cried. Come, promise, tell to me. Lady Nancy Bell died for the loss of her love, and Lord Lovett, it was his name. Lord Lovett, it was his name.
That was Moira Craig singing Lord Lovett. And that brings us to the end of this episode. What did you think? What are your thoughts on this song? I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to get in touch with me, feel free to drop me an email at intheroud@singyonder.co.uk. I do try and respond to all the emails. Sometimes I haven't got the time, and I do try, so bear with me, please. Or the podcast is on various social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Just search for In the Roud, a folk song podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast, I would very much appreciate it if you would give us a little rating and review on wherever you get your podcasts from. It all helps the podcast to reach a wider audience via the algorithm wave pool. I made that thing up just now, but it's true though. You know what I mean. Thank you. Over on our Patreon, last week we had John Baxter on the show to talk to us about this year's Roud number. That's I'm Afloat, with the Roud number being 2025. And to finish off this year, we're going to spend the next 3 weeks looking at Christmas carols and winter songs. If you feel so moved to support the podcast financially, then please do head on over to patreon.com/intheroud, and you can sign up for either £5 or £10 per month and receive regular bonus content. And so, to start off this year's Carols mini-season, I am joined by Vic Gammon to discuss Roud 1170, The Trees Are All Bare. This is more of a winter song than a Christmas song, primarily found in the repertoire of the Copper family of Sussex. Sign up to hear this and more at patreon.com/intheroud. In the Roud is a media partner of Veteran, the traditional music label. This week's song is included on just one of their releases. In fact, it's on the newly re-released album on which we did an entire episode back in the summer. Catch Me If You Can, Songs from Cornish Travellers, where it's sung by Charlotte Reynolds. In fact, we heard a clip of Charlotte earlier as well. You can find this album and more on their website, veteran.co.uk. One last huge thanks to this week's guests, Steve Gardham and Moira Craig. Join me next week for episode 9 of this season. We'll be looking at Roud 49, which is Child Ballad number 76. That's the song called The Lass of Rock Royal, also known as Lord Gregory. My history guest will be returning guest Martin Nail, and my singer guest will be Maddie Pryor. Until then, that's it from me. Stay safe, be well, and I'll see you next time in the Roud.